Welcome back to Open Line. We have with us former U.S. Congressman Bob Clement. He's talking about his book, Presidents, Kings, and Convicts, which is really a political memoir. And we're hearing some stories from really a remarkable political career, and also just talking about politics today. And you said one of the things that's lacking today that you see is political courage. What is a vote that you look back on that took courage, and maybe even a vote that you regret?
Ben, I'd have to say that second Iraqi war, when a lot of people were beating the war drums about teach Saddam a lesson and all that, and really believed, even some Tennesseans believed, that Saddam had something to do with what happened 9/11, which he did not. And then we were getting a lot of false information, which we didn't know at the time, in Washington about Iraq's capability, you know, their nuclear, chemical capability, which they really did not have, because we'd really knocked it out in the first Iraqi war. And I wanted to vote no on going to war the second time. And I kept hearing from George W. Bush and White House and all that. We're trying to keep the heat on, the pressure on, and I really didn't think George W. Bush would go to war immediately. Let's keep the pressure on, and rather than going to war, because remember, that war cost us almost $3 trillion. Can you imagine if we had $3 trillion, how we could rebuild America rather than wasting it in Iraq the way we did? So I voted yes on the war resolution, which I mentioned in the book, as you know. I wish I'd voted no rather than yes, but not knowing. Show unity, show support, and keep America working together and all that. But I wish I'd voted no, because I just didn't know the U.S. was immediately going to go to war, the second Iraqi war, and we made a lot of missteps after we occupied Iraq about how the country was managed and how many missteps we made.
Let's take some more calls here. Let's go to Cindy. Hello, Cindy.
Yes, sir.
Go right ahead.
Mr. Clement, I was just wondering if you remember the young ladies that used to be your Clementines.
I really do. Very well.
One of those.
And I loved
You were a Clementine, so Cindy was a Clementine.
A Clementine. I was a Clementine. My father was a Democrat, and they offered the program, and my dad said, go be a Clementine. And I started at a young age. We were about 14, 15 years old.
Right.
And we went to all of his campaigns and all of his political speakings. And I just want to say thank you, because you put me in the right path.
Thank you, Sandy. You're sweet to say that, and I thank you for what you said. And these were young girls, like she said, and dressed up in these cute outfits, and hand out literature and all, and vote for Clement and all that, and went all over the state of Tennessee. And they were, since my name Bob Clement, we thought it'd be good to call them Clementines.
Which campaign was this?
And it stuck. 1978. And I was 34 years old, and I ran for governor of Tennessee. But as my grandmother said, Bob, you're older than your father when he ran for governor, but you look so much younger. I looked like I was about 20 years old. But I came within 30,000 votes of getting the Democrat nomination. And I even took a political survey after the race. What did I do wrong? I said, well, Bob Clement, you got a good organization, you're right on the issues, people think you're honest, but you look too young. I said, oh my gosh, I could put a little prematurely gray hair, and put a little gray in my hair to change that. But I did look awful young. Yeah.
So the Clementines were part of that.
Clementines, oh, they were great campaigners.
That's great. All right, let's go to
a difference.
Let's go to Butch. Hello, Butch.
Yes, sir.
Go right ahead.
I'm another personal friend of Bob's, and I've read the book and loved it, and I recommend it to everybody. But I would like to ask him about, in this day's problems today, that his daddy was a champion for mental health, and I wonder if that's not one of our problems with the shootings and the things that are going on today. And I'd like Bob's comment on it.
That's quite a statement you made, and gosh, I've been monitoring like the whole country is, the whole world is really, about what's happened in Florida, and I'm so pleased the young people are speaking up as loudly and clearly as they are even at the White House today. And my father, when he was governor of Tennessee, Frank G. Clement, established the first Department of Mental Health in Tennessee history. Prior to my father being governor of Tennessee in the 50s, the mentally ill and the men and women that were in your penal institutions were part of the same department, and there was an electrician ahead of the department, and he established the first Department of Mental Health, and we've come a long way. But I'll tell you, we do have a problem there, and that should be part of the fix, part of the solution to the problem, not all of it. And but the mental health part of it needs to be considered very seriously. But these high-powered weapons, America's going to have to look at that. I mean, just think of weapons that can fire hundreds of rounds within seconds, and how much damage can be done, and why an individual doesn't need that for hunting, an individual doesn't need that for target practice. Why? But I'm on the same breath, I will always defend the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. I have pistols and shotgun, and I don't really want to take it away from me, and it should not happen. But these high-powered weapons we need to look at, like the AR-15 and all that, and then the background checks, that should have been solved a long time ago and would have saved a lot of lives.
How powerful were lobbyists when you were in Congress, and do you think they're more powerful now? Are there more of them? Certainly that issue is one where everyone talks about the NRA, but more broadly even, just lobbyists, the power of lobbyists that you would encounter in Congress on a regular basis.
Well, the NRA would be in the top 3 most powerful lobbyists in Washington, D.C., no doubt about it. And they have a lot of power, a lot of influence. And that's going to have to be, that's going to be very interesting what Mr. Trump does, because I know we got a lot of support from the NRA, got a lot of financial support from the NRA, and what kind of political courage is he going to show now? And with these young people speaking up, I've never seen them be as effective as they are right now, not only in Florida, but all over the country, that we expect change. We expect something to happen. And I think the message that was given today is very good, and I hope Congress is listening.
Let's take one more call before we go to break. Lucy. Are you there, Lucy?
Hey, y'all. Hey, Mr. Clement. Thank you for your public service. I just want to express that before I make a few comments. And I don't want to have your dad upstage you or anything, but your dad gave the poor in the state of Tennessee free textbooks. And for someone who later in life couldn't afford textbooks during their higher education, that was a very important move, and people really criticized your dad for that, for quote-unquote helping those lazy poor. I've heard some remarks, but it really changed a lot of things, I feel, in the state of Tennessee. The other thing is, don't know if you've seen the latest Frontline, if you ever watch Frontline on PBS.
Yeah.
But if they could give a Pulitzer Prize for a documentary, they've shown the first part. The next part is next week. They're doing a series on Iran and Iraq. If you haven't seen that, I highly suggest that you see that, because I've read a lot, talked to a lot of people that have been involved in that in civilian capacity and military capacity, and they are covering every inch of everything. And one last thing, could you lean on Mr. Hall there and see if he could get Al Gore to come on and talk about the internet and why he wanted it regulated? Bye-bye.
Thank you, Lucy. Thank you.
I'll talk to him about that. Matter of fact, I saw Frontline on Iran, Iraq. That's a great report, too.
Yeah,
and what you said about the textbooks, it's interesting because my father at age 16, think about this, Dixon, Tennessee, Dixon County High School, where he grew up, he used to tell people, and he had no money or no contacts, but he'd tell people at age 16, I'm going to be governor of Tennessee. And everything he did and said from the time he was 16 till age 32 was toward that one goal and objective, to be governor of Tennessee. So I encourage young people, make up your mind early what you want to do in life, and the more successful you'll be. But on the free textbook, he noticed in high school how many kids, matter of fact, I ran into one of them who's a senior adult now, and kids had to look over the shoulder of another kid to get an education because their families could not afford to buy textbooks for their children. And Dad didn't think it was right and says, you elect me governor of Tennessee, I'm going to have free textbooks for every child in public school in Tennessee. And it happened.
Lucy, that's good memory. Thank you for that call. That's good information. We're going to take a break. Then I want to go through some stories. So we're going to go through some stories in the book. Harry Truman, some other stories in the book. We'll take a break. Be back right after this.